This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes, for your half-assed entertainment news with no bullshit, with our hosts, the Baroness and Bear Fiorda, only on Talk 4 Media.
Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I'm the Baroness. We are on with my co-host, the baddest bear in the cage and the only man in Hollywood with any integrity, at least that I've met so far, Bear Fiorda.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a good compliment.
Not
it means
really.
a lot to me.
It shouldn't. I worked with
why?
Harvey because I worked with Harvey.
Well, why not?
And
why
I've worked with Harvey, and I've been to Diddy's parties.
But it's you need more fucking context than that. I swear to God. I'm saying it as a compliment. Okay, integrity is important to me. It's why I teach my kids in martial arts class and hopefully our own.
Oh, and what?
Child?
Oh, I don't like you. There'll be no children.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
You're in trouble right now.
Well, considering you go to Diddy parties and work with Harvey Weinstein, I feel like I should be judging too. You're gonna tell them what it means, or you're gonna keep going off silence.
Harvey, my boss was one of Harvey's funders, so I never had any trouble with him, but everyone heard the rumors. And everyone went to Diddy's parties, but he had 3 levels of parties. He had the open party to Hollywood, where everyone came. Then he had the more private parties. Then he had his sex parties. And so it's kind of that, and he used one to vet for the other. So you go to the Hollywood party. If you seem open, you'll get invited to a more private party. And if you open at the private party, you'll get invited to the private parties.
Which, tell them though, it ultimately ended up, now that we're really hearing about what this stuff means, it's not like it's a party. It's he found somebody, most likely an escort or a prostitute. It was like, hey,
that's the private party.
I want you to do this to this other person.
No, that's a whole next level. That's not the parties I'm talking about.
Oh, that's all that. Rather than reference the freak offs.
No, that's a whole different thing. Okay. The freak off's a whole different thing. But it's different.
Yeah,
he's just a pervert. That was just his like.
He's a pervert with power, so he gets to employ this stuff.
That was his homemade porn. So essentially, you know how a normal person's like, I'm going to go to OnlyFans and ask this chick to do this, or I'm going to go to XNX or
wherever,
or Pornhub or whatever, and I'm going to look up this certain thing. Diddy had the ability to make his pornographic dreams come true.
Yes, he did. And that's what I meant when I said powers. He has the either connections, ability. He can destroy people's careers, make your career. And that's because he's well and dated in it. How has he been involved in the industry? How many friends did he make? How strong was he? All that's coming out.
Oh, no, he's incredibly powerful.
Yes.
I wouldn't. So Diddy was, again, he was very nice to me, but my boss was his funder. Something, for those that don't know, that happens a lot in Hollywood. Who you come in under matters. I came in under Brad Gray. He ran Paramount. He is an incredible man. God rest his soul. And because I came in under him, there was a certain level of not prestige, but room I was offered. Nobody.
I would think more like security.
Security would be a good way of putting it, but people aren't trying to piss off the person funding them. And since Brad was funding, it just turned into don't assault his assistants.
Don't shit where you eat.
I'd like to remind everyone, every time we use bad language, we give money to the Boys and Girls Club of America, the Humane Society of America, and Free MMA. We swear because we can.
Yes, we do. Hey, I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent here because that reference made me think about this. Social media has gotten to the point, and we've all thought about this too.
All I want to talk about is David Beckham being knighted, and here we are talking about poop and Diddy. All right, go on, social media.
Well, I'm just saying, we've always known social media itself is going to eventually lead to some very degenerate, weird content and ideas.
What do you mean going to?
That it would eventually arrive there when social media came
I would
about.
encourage everyone to watch Black Mirror. Joan is awful. We are getting there. And if I can figure out how to do that to you, I will.
Which one is Joan is awful?
You haven't seen it and you should. It's genius.
Oh, okay.
I freaking wish I could do that. It is incredible.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like you say things and like you don't realize the impact you have on people when you say that, or yourself. I mean, how bad is it? Do you want people to really think of you like that?
I'm not going to lie to people.
I don't lie to them.
Look, I look at
say nothing.
I understand. You are a nice guy. You have that clean cut all American image. And you, by the way, for those that don't know, he's not BSing. He genuinely is that guy. It is annoying, hence this conversation. I have never had the need to be loved by strangers. I don't care.
You just insinuated that I'm the way I am because I need the love of strangers. Why can't I just be me? Because this is who I am.
Because you want to help people. You want to make the world better. You want people to love you. You love them. It's really just all a little gay.
I mean, there's more than men involved in this equation.
I don't mean gay in the homosexual way. I think that's fantastic. The more gay guys there are, the more fun I have. No, I mean it like they meant it in 2003.
Anyways, the reason why I started this
when
because
frat
I saw
bros tried to commandeer the saying. I wasn't insulting your sexuality. I was insulting your intelligence.
This guy took a video of himself eating chicken nuggets on the can. That's all I'm saying. That I think it has gotten to a very disturbing level that we don't need to see that. And they don't filter that stuff either. They let that run, but you say a curse word too soon into a video and they cut your funding.
I'd like to remind everyone, if you're sitting on the toilet eating chicken nuggets and that is your claim to fame, you should be ashamed. And if you're the Hawk Tour, and if you are the Hawk Tour girl, you have a future in OnlyFans, even if it's commentary. Please remember, the internet is forever. I try and stress this to people, especially young women. Don't send nudes. The internet is forever. Snapchat doesn't actually delete anything.
No,
your history, exactly. Everything you have ever sent, every text, everything is there. And I remind everyone, stay off Discord for the next few days, please, because they're using that to track the protests across the country.
You know, not only what you just said, but people tend to think that whatever they do on their phones or internet is not seen by anyone. Like, just because you're an incognito or you have delete chat afterwards, your provider sees what's happening.
Oh, no, not just a provider. I can get on my IP and see what anyone does.
Mm-hmm.
So for those that don't know, I'm spectacular at technology. But the biggest reason I'm spectacular at technology is I know how to use the IP to get into anyone's device. It's really simple. It's not exactly rocket science. It's like Tech 101. But look, just watch Joan is Awful. Really, it tells you where it goes.
Joan is Awful.
No, it's
I'm afraid to look at it now. You're terrifying me. I don't know if I want to go watch it.
Basically, they steal her data, live stream her life.
Okay.
With an AI version of Selma Hayek.
With an AI,
It's from Black Mirror.
Okay.
Live, remember, your phone is recording you 24/7. You know how you sit there and one day you're sitting there talking about eating chicken nuggets on the toilet.
Yes.
You know what's going to happen next? We're going to get advertisements for McDonald's. I will not eat McDonald's because it tried to kill me and I ended up with lupus because you put plastic in your cheese.
Yes, we put artificial stuff in our food.
Yeah, your food's poison.
Yeah, the FDA has a certain amount of cow pus that's allowed in milk.
Not where I come from. Do you know how much cow pus is allowed in milk? None. We do not allow pus in milk. Anyway.
Just sell cheaper milk. That's all I'm saying.
I'd rather pay more for my milk and be guaranteed no pus.
Listen, how bad is it really? Do you notice the pus when you drink it?
No, I pay extra for milk. Duh. Anyway, look, here's a simple way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a very blessed life. I grew up middle class, very lucky. My father was in the service. My mother, was a teacher. I was given every advantage. I went to private school. My uncle, who owns Off-Road Rentals, does our weekly giveaways on the show. I'd like to remind everyone. Yeah, Off-Road Rentals does our weekly giveaways. He's helped, with because I have a job that can be unstable, is help with home purchasing. I have had, and that allows me to foster and adopt children, which is my goal. So because of him, children are given homes. My father, killed himself to make sure I went to private schools. I've been given every advantage in the world. And I've taken advantage of those advantages. And I'm not going to drink cow pus.
Don't drink cow pus. It's not good for you. Don't drink raw milk either. I hate those people. They think all of...
Look, I grew up around farms. There is nothing wrong with raw milk from a cow. If it's your cow, it's clean and you're drinking it straight out the cow. Once you bottle it, the whole point of bottling is the sanitization of the bottle and the milk, because the cow teats where you're getting it bacteria grows very quickly. So it's not about the milk, it's about the bacteria from the cow's teat. The point of pasteurization is to kill the bacteria that is transferred, specifically certain kinds of yeasts and botulism.
Yeah.
And when you have the botulinum toxins that get into the milk through raw milk, it can kill you. So I actually agree. Pasteurize your milk unless you're drinking it immediately from the cow, and then it's delicious.
No, I still say
I've given
pasteurize
him raw
anyways.
milk.
What do you mean drink for straight from the udder? Do you mean squirt it into your mouth? Like how straight do we have to talk
No,
here?
it goes into the milk bucket, then you take it inside and you drink it, and whatever you don't drink, you just boil.
Okay, well, so you're saying the bacteria does not come from that moment of milkception.
Bacteria has to grow.
Isn't it growing inside of them?
No, it's not inside of them. It's on the actual teat and on the bottles and on the buckets. So it's the feces. So think of a cow can't hold its potty, right? So it's constantly pooting, it's laying in the fields, that sort of thing.
Right.
Now, in a cow's stomach, which is what milk is made for, a baby cow, it's meant to make a 5,000-pound beast.
No, yeah, absolutely.
It's got the immune system for it. In our case, and it's drinking it straight.
Right.
It's not giving it time to grow. The issue isn't the raw milk, it's the bacterial growth.
I swear to God, that's not what I've read on the internet. I mean, I don't believe everything I see from the internet, but my brain's just fighting so hard against this.
Relax. I will take him to a farm next time we go to Tasmania.
You know, in Joe Rogan's podcast, he's got that
Please
guy
do not
sitting in
quote
the
Joe
background.
Rogan.
No, not quoting him. But he's got that guy sitting in the background who he just be like, ask him to pull whatever he wants on the internet and to get information from on the fly. We need a guy like that. We need a guy sitting here on one of our couches on his laptop, ready to answer questions.
Okay, next week we'll do that. This week I just want to talk to Sherri, and I wanted to talk about David Beckham being knighted. I'm thrilled. I think it's wonderful. Shout out to David. Shout out to David Beckham and Victoria Beckham. I think it's wonderful. It will be Sir David Beckham and Lady Victoria Beckham. You guys have put the work in. You've supported the monarchy. You've done a lot to support the social and financial growth of the United Kingdom. David has done a lot for the area he grew up in. He did not grow up in wealth. Victoria Beckham grew up, quite well off, but David did not, and he really worked himself to the top, and I'm very proud of him.
Absolutely.
So couldn't be a better deserved person. I'm glad we skipped talking about that for raw milk. I'd like to welcome Sherri to the show.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
You guys are cracking me up with your conversation over here.
I'm glad because I'm thoroughly concerned.
Don't be like, she's not wrong. I was a vegan for a long time. I know a lot about milk and what it's for and how it's pasteurized and all that good stuff. So it was an interesting conversation to listen to the two of you. But don't be your milk is fine. The milk you drink is probably has no nutrition, so you're good. No bacteria either.
Well, good. That's all I want to know is that we're safe to do it.
You missed the part where she said no nutrition.
Yeah. Raw milk is actually better for you, but it's illegal for reasons, obviously. But yeah, you'll be fine.
If they built the structure around the farming basis, I don't think it would be problematic. I think America doesn't support small farming the way the rest of the globe does, so it does create a problematic environment. I grew up on raw milk; it was no problem. But I've bought raw milk here and gotten ill.
Listen, this is America, okay? Most profit, least amount of work.
Your cheese nearly killed me. I want to talk about Sherri, but I'm going to say this, just a comparative. I got bit by a nest of black widow spiders, bit the snot out of my hand. I went to the hospital because all my friends freaked out. I got there, spoke to the doctor for 2 minutes. He asked where I was from. I said, I grew up in Australia. He said, fabulous, go home, you're fine. You've been bit by your spiders. I said, yes. He said, go. Gave me a Benadryl and sent me home. I ate one piece of your cheese and was in the hospital for 6 weeks. One piece.
It's because you ate American cheese.
We have McDonald's in Australia. Let me tell you, it is not what you guys serve. I just tried to get a cheese sandwich. I almost died.
Yeah, it's very different. They make different food for Americans than they do for other countries.
Yeah.
You have food-like products.
Yeah, we a lot.
Yes, food-like is the key word. Food-like. Agreed.
Yes, they do not allow your cheeses in Europe, and that's what almost killed me.
They don't allow a lot of our food over there. Yeah.
Now, for you have got a very, very broad background. You come from the toughest generation currently living. You come from the latchkey generation. You have a whole stand-up thing about it. Can you tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So yeah, I go by the Real Slim Sherri online. I make videos. I'm a content creator now, comedian apparently. That makes videos about, my generation, like how we grew up and, being latchkey kids and feral and just, we fend for ourselves. And we still are a lot like that, even as adults. But I talk a little bit about also my generation coming into midlife and aging and all those things that go along with that. And so those of us, I joke that it's not really a joke. Our generation used to be a lot bigger, but a lot of us didn't make it because we grew up so feral. But those of us that did are true survivors. And so here now we're coming into the second phase of life where it's like, oh, we weren't really prepared for this, all the back pain and the knee pain and all that stuff. So I make jokes about that as well. But yeah, it's I have about a little over 6 million followers across all the social media platforms. And apparently I resonate with a good variety of people, not just my generation, some of the boomers, some of the millennials, even some of the Gen Z. They're like, oh, I was raised in the wrong generation. They love our music. So I'm very nostalgic for, obviously 80s music and all the stuff that just doesn't exist anymore, the arcades and the roller rinks and all the fun stuff. But yeah, that's kind of my thing.
I like that. I have to tell you. So I was on the telephone setting up a cage fight for a nonprofit. We're working with Nigeria. We're working with the King of Nigeria. We're working with Filipino organization. We're working with this group. And I'm talking to one of the guys about products to put. And he said, I'd love to pull in this comedian. And he started talking about you. And I said, I know her. She's spectacular. Yes. And he said, well, I think it would be good for a show. And I said, yes. So we
talked about that once, you and I, a while back.
Did.
Yeah,
we did. And so he and I started chatting about that. And the way you resonate with people and the way you interact is singularly unique because you come from a time where, I'm a millennial, he's a millennial. He's right on that border,
right,
between millennials and mental illness. And there is a distinct difference in how people were raised. And, I wasn't raised in this country, so I have a very different perspective. But Americans, you're terrifying. You have the last of the Gen X is the last of rock and roll. I mean, they've got, the concert they're doing right now. Metallica's playing Soundgarden. It's one of the biggest concerts in the world. It's coming out and it's the last of rock. Rock is dead. You can put Jelly Roll up, but it's just one dude. It's not a band.
Yeah. They don't make music like they used to. They really don't.
You come from the last generation that was not digitally altered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I haven't really talked a lot about that, but you're absolutely right. Like a lot of the musicians, they didn't have auto-tune. They didn't have AI to, make their music sound good. They had to sound good or you didn't make it. You didn't get a record deal. And so, they just don't make it like that anymore. But, you're originally from Australia? Is that right?
I grew up in Australia. Yes.
Okay. So I actually, surprisingly, my number 2 city, number 2 area of demographics that follow me are all Australia, New Zealand.
Absolutely.
So even though Gen X is not an Americanized thing, it seems to resonate across the world the way that we were raised. We were, being feral and
that's how we're still raised. That's why
you guys are still feral.
That's how we're still raised.
So I want to move there, wherever the feral people are.
Yes, that's sort of how we're still raised. My dad's idea of camping was we're going to go out for the weekend. Here's a buck knife.
Yeah, no, that's us. You would get along well with all of us.
Oh, absolutely. We grew up in America's generational. We don't have the same helicopter parents. We still raise our children seen and not heard. We still, it's bleeding, rub some dirt in it. You'll be fine. It's a little different where America got very soft.
Yeah, the laws, a lot of things changed. I joke a lot about the way we were raised. You can't raise kids that way today because a lot of those ways are illegal. Yeah, you would go to jail. Corporal punishment in public was like a very common thing when I was growing up, and now you can't get away with that. And so, I'm surprised that it hasn't changed really elsewhere, but that's somewhat reassuring that it's not dead. It's not like a dead thing, that it's not never going to make its way back. I think eventually we'll right
It's
some of it.
Pendulum.
Yeah, I
There's
do
always a
think it'll
pendulum.
swing back. I think we'll get there. I don't know when it'll be. Maybe a few more decades, but we got to screw things up a little bit more before we realize, maybe we should go back to the way things were.
America's a very young country compared to the rest of the world.
Agreed.
You guys are just trying to figure, you're feeling yourselves out.
Right. And even with, sorry, not trying to cut you off. Do you have more you want to put into that?
I was just going to say, the first thing I had to tell my grandmother when she came here was not to hit other people's children.
Yeah, I was raised that way. It does. I was raised that way. I was raised in a time when when it was not uncommon for other adults to discipline children that were not their own. Like, it was not uncommon at all.
And if you had to get disciplined by somebody else, your parent would beat you.
Well, you got it twice. So if it was not
embarrassed me. Yeah.
Yes, it was not uncommon to get whipped in school, and then you would go home and get whipped by your mother, and then she would tell you wait till your father gets home, and you would get it again. Like, double jeopardy was not a thing for us. They would give it to you triple, and then you would get other punishments layered on top. You get grounded for the entire summer, no phone privileges. They took everything away.
But you know what? We have, I've seen it too when parents are a little more, and I don't really want to call it strict because I just like that's the parenting method. When we see parents who still operate like that, you get older parents who maybe had kids later in life, and so they understand that that's how they were raised. They passed it on. Those kids, they're just mentally more prepared for what comes in life. I see it teaching martial arts, between people who had my students who have older parents compared to younger parents who are in their mid to late 20s compared to those who are in their mid to late 30s. A huge difference how the kids react to adversity and struggle in the classes.
It's a lack of emotional regulation.
Yeah,
not teaching
it really
their children
is.
emotional regulation, and that's something that it's all about. How you feel. And I'm going to sound awful, but it's not about how you feel. You have to regulate emotionally. It's, life's not fair.
Absolutely.
That was kind of shoved down our throats. We didn't kind of have a choice. It was just like, hey, life sucks, suck it up. And it is what it is. And so that's how we've gone through most of our life. And so people are afraid of us because we are almost devoid of emotion in a lot of times, especially in moments of chaos, or, if there's a need for somebody to, tell everybody everything's going to be okay. There's the sky is not falling. You're going to be fine. We need more of that. I don't disagree. We have gotten away from that, but yeah, we were told not to have emotions. And so a lot of us are just starting to discover, maybe we are allowed to have, there was wipe that look off your face.
That's not, it's a little too extreme the other direction. You should.
No, that's definitely how it was. It was, you're to be seen and not heard. Wipe that look off your face. Stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about. That was very common. And so a lot of us didn't learn. We didn't learn how to process emotions.
So you didn't learn emotional regulation. You learned emotional suppression.
We learned suppression. We learned not to have any, because you learned that having feelings or having emotions would come with consequences. And so you just learned to hide those. We mask very, very well.
That explains why you have the highest rate of serial killers in your generation.
It's probably because they had to shove all that down inside, It shows up eventually. It will show up eventually.
It's like, okay, I can have an eating disorder, I can have a drinking problem, or I can become a serial killer.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. Or drugs. I mean, we've tried it all. We've run the gamut. My generation, definitely, we dabbled in a little bit of everything. That's why I said those of us that are still here are truly resilient. we made it.
Absolutely.
Gen X is literally the reason the war on drugs was started and lost.
Yes. Yeah, it still exists. They just don't market it the same way. But we had the commercials. This is your brain on drugs, when they fry an egg kind of thing, the commercials of, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are? Basically, I had to remind our parents that they had kids, that was us.
I like that. The worst part is, if somebody's sitting there high, they're just like, man, I really want an egg.
Yeah. And then when you fry it, you're like, oh, that's my brain. That was our commercials.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Despite from all that, we're giving the younger generations a little bit of shit here. I am curious. You mentioned earlier that some of them reach out to you as well, comments or messages probably, and they discuss how, hey, I feel like I relate more to you than maybe my fellow peers in school or in college or wherever. What are those experiences like for you?
I mean, a lot of it has to do with the way they have been raised. Those are the ones that often resonate more because they have been raised the way we were. Maybe their parents raised them the way that we were raised, or some that just don't really feel connected to their own generation. They feel for some reason more connected to simpler times. And that's usually what it boils down to, is just these kids. I feel bad for the young people now. They live in a world, they'll never understand a world that was analog. The ones that have never experienced that. They're so connected all the time, instant gratification, this instant connectivity, there's no option to disconnect, really. You have email and social media, and their cell phones are connected to them constantly. We didn't have that. And so we understand how valuable it is to disconnect and not be engulfed in social media or email or constantly tethered to a piece of technology. They don't know that. And so some of them, I feel bad because they'll never have that experience. I think the pendulum will swing and we'll find a way back to some regulation of that, because I think it's really important to their nervous systems are so overstimulated. And I think that's why we have kids that there's so much anxiety in them, and you have so many mental health issues that these kids struggle with. And I think a lot of it is related to that constant digital connectivity. And so, I think a lot of them, there are kids that long for that. And so when they hear somebody talking about, the days of old, if you will, or the times when we didn't have all that, they're almost nostalgic for a time they never lived in. And so, yeah.
I agree with you completely. And I think that's brilliant. And I think you talking about, I know you're very much a comedian. I know a lot of what you do is funny, but it's also very, very true. Yeah. And I think for children, I foster and I bring in children, and many of them have never had a point where they have not been stimulated and engaged. They wouldn't know what it's like. Get out of the house. I'll see you at night.
Yeah.
Yep. They wouldn't know what it's like to climb a tree.
And that's sad for kids, right? Like they don't go out and play outside like we did. And they don't know, a lot of them they're so rooted in fear. Even I feel bad for the kids. They're terrified of just the world in general. And so I think that's one of the things that has, 3.5 years making content has landed me where I'm at, is just that I do speak a lot of truth. Even though I infuse humor in there, I am speaking a lot of truth and putting a lot of truth to just the ways of the world or ways that things used to be. And I think that really resonates. People feel they relate to that. They relate to realness when you live in a world, especially a digital world, where you don't know what is real. And so hearing somebody speak real things into the world, I think there are people that long for that.
Well, they need it. I follow you personally. And what got me following you is I have a lot of young girls will reach out to me. They want to be stars. And I have 9 and 10-year-old girls. I don't know why they're online, reaching out to me, asking if they make a sex tape, if that will help them.
Oh my
These girls have never fallen out of a tree. They've never scraped a nail, but they're in Sephora using Drunk Elephant, asking me about sex tapes. And it's that moment where I'm like, I need to speak with your parent now. Yeah. Like it's gotten bad. I know he's actually had to call parents of, one of his subscribers at one point. I have as well. And it's those moments of the lack of disconnection. People are talking about an uptick in ADHD. No, you're just distracting your children all the time. It's no worse than it ever was. I come from a place that, they believe if you have ADHD, don't give the children sugar, and if they wiggle, smack them.
Right. Yeah. Don't fidget. We're not allowed. Now we have fidget toys. We didn't have fidget toys. You weren't allowed to fidget. But no, I agree with you. I think, again, going back to that constant stimulation, their nervous systems are constantly stimulated. And I think that that's why we feel like there's so much more ADHD, or there's so much more of that, is it's an overstimulation. And we're seeing it. I think we see it more now because that's the story for probably, at least 80% of the population of kids, is that they're just constantly in some state of digital space. Even in school now, everything they do is on computers. They don't write. I'm like, do you guys write anything anymore? Like they don't write. They don't even learn geography. They don't, there's so many things where I'm just like, wow, it's just changed so much. And I get that they, that's how they have to use the tools that they're going to use in the future. But I do think there's something to be said about kids just turning all that off and disconnecting and just going and being one with
They need to learn how to be bored.
Touch some grass,
Yeah.
for God's sakes, as they like to say. Go touch some grass.
Well,
Go
they-
touch some grass,
You need to learn
Get
how to
some
be
reality.
bored. You don't have to be consistently entertained. And it's the
No.
and I fully hold it against the parents. And I find it so interesting because with Gen X, they've either raised because they've raised kind of the Gen Zs, where the boomers raised, the millennials. The Gen X and what I found with Gen Z is they've got their parents' nihilism, they've got the political inclinations that Gen Alpha, the children, the millennials generation of children do not have. Gen Alpha is just terrible. And so it's kind of this cross, and you find with the Gen X, you find these phenomenal parents, and you find they've either gone your way where they're like, nope, this is natural course. Let them fall out of a tree. They'll be fine.
Let them break something. They'll be okay. They're gonna survive.
They need to know they'll be okay.
Yeah. No, I raised a millennial, and I have 2 alphas. Well,
Really?
one is like right on. I've got 11 and 14-year-old girls. And then I have a 35-year-old son. And so I've seen both sides. I have a millennial and I have 2 alphas. Well, one, she's right on the cusp of Gen Z, right at the end of Gen Z, beginning of Gen Alpha. But no,
sorry, that was the most Gen X thing I ever heard. Like, you're supposed to have one in Gen Z because that's what everyone else did. Nope, I'm going to be a contrarian.
Yeah, no, I got 21 years between my first and my second. And so, I have two little young ones at home, and they're not that little now. One's smacking her teenage years. The other one's soon to be a teenager. But no, I mean, I see it with them. I can see the contrast between my first child I raised and the world I'm raising these 2 girls in, and how very, very different it is. My son, he was still, he was born in a time when it was still, digital was really just starting to become a thing. And so he grew up a little more analog. These girls they'll never know that space, but it is like, go outside and play. Like, for us, when I was a kid, if you said you were bored, you were just stupid. Like, that's the thing. Nobody was bored. That got you put to work. Yes.
Chores. Oh, you're bored? I got you.
Yeah. These kids today say they're bored, and it's like they, for some reason, they think it's our job to entertain them. And it's like, because they need to be entertained constantly. They don't understand, what do I do with myself when I'm not doing something? And I'm sad for that. I'm sad that they don't it's like, no, go poke something with a stick, for God's sakes. I don't care. Just go outside, go do something besides
butterfly.
Go be one with nature, and that's what I think we've gotten so far away from. And that's the part that makes me sad for them, is that they feel this constant need for stimulation, and the digital space has created that environment. I really do think we can blame a lot of it on the digital world.
Absolutely. It's also created an uptick in allergies because children aren't out in nature.
Yes.
Created an uptick in
some physical.
Oh no, it's
caused
absolutely. It's caused.
They need to eat some dirt.
Yep. To grow that immune system, you need
go scrape your knees and get some gravel that you'll carry around for the rest of your life in your knee. Like that kind of, I think about it. When I was growing up, I mean, we caught everything. We shared. I mean, it was not, you didn't shy away from getting sick. They put us in the same room with somebody who had chicken pox, so you could catch them.
Chicken pox party.
Yeah, pox parties. Yeah. So, but these kids today, they're. I don't think COVID helped them either. COVID kind of messed them up a little bit, but
a lot of good people fear.
Yes,
what it did.
But look at 1918. Hear me out. We had a pandemic, Spanish flu.
Right,
People didn't freak out as bad then because parents let the kids back out when everything opened up.
Well, we also didn't have 24/7 media in your face.
True.
The fear mongering and the propaganda and the constant, again, that constant connectivity. When I was growing up, you had the news at 6 and 11 and you got the newspaper. That was how you got your news. There was none of this 24-hour cycle of media where it's like, if you really sit and listen to the news more than just for like an hour, just like during the beginning of COVID, I found myself, I was curious. I want to know what was going on. And so I was watching it every day. And then after a few days, maybe a few weeks, I was like, this is the same. They're just fear mongering. It's constant. They say the same things over and over in different ways, but they're saying the same thing essentially over and over again, creating this environment of fear. And I feel like that's what the news, this 24/7 stuff it's just too much. It needs to be regulated, or go back to when it was just 6 and 11. When I was growing up, if you didn't catch the news, you just missed it. Like, you didn't know what was going on in the world until somebody told you, or you read the newspaper. And I think that has also created this environment of this fear that this looming, there's always, all you see is the negative stuff on the news, right? It's always the same negative stuff.
And it makes so much sense.
I was going to say not to defend my people, and I'm not going to.
Okay, because you're also
in
media,
yeah, because I'm in media. It
but not to offend in any way.
Oh no, not at all. Fear sells better.
I know.
Purpose. I do it on purpose to people.
And it doesn't matter which side either. Everyone's pushing their own agenda. Everyone has an opinion, where news used to be just, this is what the fuck happened. Figure it out for yourself.
Yeah,
well,
just tell me what happened. I don't care about the rest. I don't give a shit about the rest of the stuff. And that's the problem. But our kids, again, you not only have it on TV, but you have it in media, in social media. It's on the internet. Like everything is the sky is falling. And so I think that has instilled a level of fear in these kids that we never had. We didn't have that. We didn't know there were a bunch of serial killers that way. We just saw kids missing on the side of a milk carton. We had no idea why.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we had the crime was higher even back when, 80s and 90s. It's statistically proven much that higher, crime was much higher than it is today. But it seems like it's so much more dangerous because of the media.
The prolific. Well, it's also, okay, not to be a traitor to my job. I absolutely love Bob Iger for one thing. It's a genius, and I'm going to make myself sound like the world's worst person. They own the right and the left on news, same company. And what they do is pit them against each other. Mm-hmm. So people are sitting there going, I'm getting the right news. The other side's going, no, I'm getting the right news. No, you're not. You're intentionally being pit against each other by one of the smartest marketers in the world.
Yeah, no,
I'm getting the right news. It's great. It's really, I wish I could do that.
I mean, I'm sure you probably could figure that out. You could figure it out. Create two shows and pit them against each other. And like you would probably, you could figure it out.
I have a game show like that. I actually pitched you in.
Yeah, I think you did. Yeah. I'm sure you could figure that out.
We already got that going over at Fox.
So. Yeah, because fear sells, and people like drama, people like rivalry. They like, that's what sells.
And it stops you all from complaining to your government. It's genius. So essentially, the media, everyone's like, I hate the left wing media, I hate the right wing media. It's the same company.
I hate them all.
They're just doing that, and now you fight with each other, and you don't fight with your government. And the only people I hear arguing that point are Gen X, who are sitting there going, "It's all bull. Everyone's lying to you. Why are you all stupid?" And nobody.
That's exactly. Have you been watching my videos? Because that's exactly what I say. You guys, this is stupid. You guys are stupid.
Yep,
it's gullible. Bunch of gullible pansies. Anyway.
Yep.
I gotta tell you.
I quote you actually in a lot of shows.
She does. I got to tell you, though, is a reason why MILF Manor is a TV show that thrived into a season 2, because people love the fucking drama. And you should start a reality show around the people in office. I would love to hear Mitch McConnell sit in a locker room, give a private interview about his daily issues with people.
The only people I could sell would be like Lauren Boebert. She's the one masturbating guys in like the front row of Shrek.
But that's it.
Like that's her I can use. She's at least got her own little sex tape thingy. Mitch McConnell, no one's going to pay to see that. No one is going to. Would you pay to see a Mitch McConnell sex tape?
No, God, no.
Bernie Sanders,
especially not a sex tape. No, thank you.
Bernie Sanders.
I need to be paid to do that.
Lauren Boebert's kind of hot, so her masturbating that guy in the theater, everyone tuned in for.
There was a story. There was drama, and that kind of stuff does sell. Again, people love drama. 100%. They love a story.
Once the picture came out with her hand down his pants, I was like, and that's going to run for a week.
Right. Yeah. I actually had a while back, I made a video before the election about how I feel like they should run future elections. And I think it should be done Big Brother style, personally.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Just put them all in a house together, lock them in a house for 60 days, 90 days, and let them hash the shit out. And at the end, we'll vote on whoever the people are that, hit the end, the final 2 or whatever. I think there's something there. I think it could. I like that. I just want to see somebody cry in the diary room. That's
if we're going to do dystopian, let's do fully dystopian. Absolutely. If we're going to do dystopian, let's go fully dystopian.
Full on. I'm there for it. Gen X will line up in droves to watch that shit. Yes, we would pay for the 24-hour feed just to watch the stuff you don't get to see. that we would all be there for it.
You guys are the most
additional
difficult.
tax and 5% tax to watch.
I like that.
All
Well, no,
access part.
hear me out about this. Gen X is the most difficult to get into a reality show. They're the most difficult to get to misbehave on a reality show. I have friends who've worked on multiple. I've done plenty myself, but even on the Real Housewives and stuff, like you even if you're trying to pump them full of liquor, they behave. You either got to get a boomer or a millennial to act up. Because Gen X.
Well, because we're all about not leaving trails of evidence of our stupidity. We didn't have that. That's the other thing. We didn't grow up with the internet. There's no evidence of our crazy, of our stupid. And so we're more cautious not to leave behind trails, breadcrumbs for how stupid we are. But we can be crazy. We just are crazy. We prefer to be crazy in private places. Like, we take it to the woods kind of thing. Like that's where, yeah, we take it where people, it's a little more controlled environment. No cameras. Put your phones. We're the one that hand you a tray and say, put your phone in here until you leave.
I like that.
No evidence.
Right.
No evidence. Yeah.
Well, in a world where you get beat 3 times in a row for when you get caught, you get pretty good at hiding it.
You also have to remember, this is a generation when they tried to ban rock and roll, they called in Dee Snider to testify. And he kicked the shit out of Congress.
He sure did. And
that was the moment you were like, yep, that you just can't get it over on.
We are definitely the generation that if there's any angst to be had, we know all about that. We're all about rising up with, whether it's political angst, it was teenage angst for us. It's even now, I think that, midlife angst is getting the best of us. We're all about a good fight. How about that? We don't shy away from that.
I
absolutely can see that.
You are statistically raised with the most emotionally absent parents because they were the product essentially of World War II. And
a lot of them are still emotionally
Vietnam.
absent.
It never came
They're
back.
alive. They just didn't come back.
They're here. They just, they're still absent. Yeah.
I like that. It was like, they're still here, but now they're
nothing's changed. They're still very much emotionally absent, still very self-centered. They're still very much about themselves. That has not changed.
Now, this is the most important question I have to ask you.
Okay.
What did you think about the new Beavis and Butthead reboot?
I haven't seen it. I know I've heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
Fucking exceptional.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to watch it.
Mike Judge. So it could have just carried on. The only update in it's the tech. It did not change at all. He put music in,
That's awesome because
we're like a continuation. I was terrified.
Gen X is typically we're very jaded when it comes to reboots or remakes. We're like, don't fuck with our movies because they keep screwing them up. And so anytime we hear about something being remade or rebooted, we're like, don't ruin it for me because like they're remaking Goonies or they're doing a Goonies 2, 1 and 2. And there's certain movies where you're not allowed to touch. And so this one makes us really nervous. And so a lot of us will just maybe never watch it because we don't want to know.
Yeah.
So Beavis and Butthead, I haven't watched because I was obviously like, oh, I mean, really? Like they're gonna mess it up. And so I'm glad to hear that they didn't.
He apparently, so this is from kind of the behind the scenes on it. He went to war with the studios every time they told him to update something or include something or do something. He was like, absolutely not.
Good for him.
So he fully went to war and it did really, really well. And they're like, hey, do you want to do more? He's like, no, this was just a kickback for fun.
Okay, I'll have to watch it if it's just a kickback for fun. Yeah, and it was done well, and he didn't really change anything. That'll be awesome. No, because they always go and remake a movie and they make it, and you're like, what are you doing?
God, they screw it up.
They make it so it's like it wasn't. You didn't have to screw it up. Like there are still some movies where I'm like, please never ever touch like E.T. Don't ever remake. I'm sad about Goonies because I'm like, I hope they better not screw it up. Right? Don't touch The Breakfast Club. Don't touch 16 Candles. There's some that just like leave them alone. These are Lost Boys. They remade one of my favorite movies ever, and they screwed it up. Horrible. Red Dawn. Horrible. Screwed it up. So there's some they just need to leave them alone. Let them be iconic as they are.
if you Google every single film you just mentioned,
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Don't tell me anything.
I'm like, as she's saying it, I'm like cringing.
They touched the never-ending story where I'm out.
They're actually not doing that, and they're not doing a lot of Jim Henson, because every time they've tried to touch that, they wanted to go after the Dark Crystal. They tried to do that whole series. It went to shit. It went to shit. But they've actually learned their lesson, and nobody's touching Jim Henson anymore.
Well, good. And there's just, like I said, there needs to be like a list of do not touch movies. There are several of them I just named. So I'm sad if they're going to remake E.T. I don't think you can do it. Yeah. I don't think
Spielberg's fighting it tooth and nail.
I don't think they're going to do it justice. It's never going to be the same. No, you won't have little Drew, you won't have, I don't think it's going to be the same.
No, I
probably won't watch it.
You need to leave some pieces as what they were. They were the classic of the time. They are staples in people's household. There's no sense, even financially, it seems stupid to me to try and remake it anyways. You lose money.
Just let it be as is.
I'm going to give a nod to to a couple of Gen X icons and say Matt and Trey made a very good point when they made fun of the remakes, and they remade the first episode of South Park and fucked it all up on purpose and re-released it and said, this is what we would have done if we'd have had the budget, and like just made this ridiculous film. Oh. And basically the whole point was it was of its time. It was what it was supposed to be, and it lives in that time period. Knock your shit off.
Leave it alone. I mean, they are, you know why they want to remake? I have a theory about this. They can't let our music go. The 80s music, you can't kill it. It will live on forever. I'm convinced it will live forever. They sample all our music. Yeah. They're now trying to remake all our movies because I do think my theory is that people are, again, nostalgic for a time that doesn't exist anymore. You're nostalgic for something that has changed so significantly. Like you mentioned earlier, music isn't made the same as it once was. Those people actually had to be able to sing. You had to actually be talented. And I'm not in any way discounting that artists today are not talented. I'm just saying, like, they didn't have auto-tune. They had to actually be able to sing. They had to be able to play instruments. And actors had to act. And it just was I think people are truly nostalgic for a time that doesn't exist. And the 80s was sort of the end of the beginning of this new era, right? Like the 90s, you still had some of it, but it was starting to make that change. And so there'll never be a decade like the 80s ever again. And so that's why I think they just keep reaching back and taking from that decade. And I'm just at the point where I'm like, leave it alone. Just leave it be.
There was also more creative freedom, where now everything has to be done by the books and by numbers. A friend of mine, Dev Ross, she wrote Land Before Time, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, and she's having a fit because they want to remake them. The freedom that they were given is very, very different than the restrictions now. When 80 people have to okay your project, projects do not move through
something, let alone 80.
But that's it. When projects do not move through as quickly as they did even 10 years ago. The show we've got with you over at Fox, the game show, you bring on teams, and the way it's written, so everyone knows, the way this has been written is essentially she would come on with a team of Gen X. We have a Gen Z star comes on with a team of Gen Z, and each week that team rotates out, and it's essentially a game show. It's competition on who can function, on understanding pop culture, on doing different things, on survival, on tech, on everything. And she becomes team lead for one and the other and primary host. And this has been put in there. And they love it. They're moving with it, which I'm outgoing it for 2026. The number of people that have to okay it is different. The number of social media followers that celebrities
they want
have to have are different. What got you okayed was simply the number of social media followers. I don't know if one person, no offense to the 90-year-old dudes in that boardroom, looked you up. I don't think they know how to use their phones. But they looked at those numbers. Yeah. And that's what matters.
You have to be able to prove you can put butts in seats. That's the only reason why they would want.
Well, because in the social media space, I mean, that's when you look at traditional marketing versus where marketing's going. I mean, it's all moving into social space. Yeah. And so those numbers, those numbers are valuable to them. But that's not the end all be all. And that's unfortunate that they put so much value in it, because it's like it goes beyond that. You can have somebody that has 10 million followers and has no reach. You know,
The hop
if-
to a go.
That's a good
What
point,
is it?
yeah.
It's the hop to a
or
go.
they are literally a blip in time, like she
Yep.
boop and she's gone. She's a has
Yep.
been, you know, she's not building anything that's has
Mm-hmm.
longevity, you know. And so that's the thing is those numbers are
Crypto scams might though.
That's
Who?
that's true. She's got
The
crypto.
hop to his
She
girl.
does have
she does
crypto scams.
Oh, well, yeah, that might
That might
the
help.
longevity she might get from that is called prison. But
Yes.
anyway, you know,
Yes, that's true. Very true. But even like the US Olympic team, 2028, they've got MMA in the Olympics. The biggest concern is, can we get those social media numbers up for those guys?
yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely understand it. I do. And, but it's unfortunate that that's where we are because creativity has changed significantly.
But it still rests with you. And I like that. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Can you tell
Thank
everyone
you.
where you are and where to find you?
You can find me at go to realslimsherri.com. All my links are there. I'm on tour right now. So you can go to genxtakeover.com. And if you're in the area and you want to come laugh and hang out with some Gen Xers, you can go there. We're going to be traveling all over the country the next year or so. But yeah, most of it is all at the realslimsherri.com. You can find all my socials there.
Whenever you're
Excellent.
in Palm Springs or Los Angeles, we'll have to come out and watch your show. And I'd love
Yeah.
to have you on again when you're in the area, and we'll make sure to push that out. Guys, please follow her. Please watch her. If you have any respect for creativity, this is how we get original content out. This is how we get original shows out. Put your support behind people that are doing something different, please.
Thank you.
So
Thanks
thank
for
you
having me.
joining us.
Good to
Thank
see you guys
so much
again.
for joining us. It's wonderful
Likewise.
seeing you. And guys, thank you. We've been on this show actually on air 11 years now. This is our 11th year that
Yeah.
we have been on air.
I was gonna say 35,600 days. Wait, it'd be 3,650 days, but I don't know what the 11th year would be. That's for 10 years.
He gets punched a lot.
So however many days it is.
52 weeks in a year.
52 weeks, and so 520.
Thank you for joining us for
us.
11 years. I'm the Baroness. We're on with my co-host, the baddest bear in the cage, Bear Fiorda. Make sure you are following the Real Slim Sherri. Really, if you want
Yes.
original content, if you want something new, if you want something different, that is where you have to put your time. Your time and your likes are what we are fighting for, are what the Hollywood is fighting for. So put your eyeballs where it makes a difference.
And don't forget to do martial arts.
Good night.
This has been Behind the Scenes with the Baroness and Bear Fiorda. Only on Talk 4 Media.